Hi, everyone. My name is Smriti P. I'm a software engineer at Google, and I've been a mentor with Magic for almost 10 years now. I was also a mentee in its pilot year back in 2009, so way, way back. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce you all to Zoe today. She is an extremely curious, passionate, driven young woman with interests ranging from sports to music to Gossip Girl, and we instantly connected on a lot of these, especially music, which you'll see is core to her project. I had a fantastic time working with Zoe. We got the opportunity to explore a really new area, which is web VR or virtual reality. And it presented its own challenges. It was extremely ambitious, but Zoe navigated it very seamlessly, asked a lot of questions to understand the fundamentals, and had an amazing attitude when we hit any challenges. So I'm really wowed, Zoe, with how you've tackled this project and really proud of what you've accomplished. I hope you are too. I'll certainly miss our weekly meetings and our catch-ups, but I look forward to keeping in touch and seeing what you do next. And I'm really excited for you to share your project and experience. So please take it away, Zoe.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm an employee at Fieldston and here's my magic presentation. Next slide, please. So for my mentorship, I was partnered with Smriti, and she's a software engineer at Google, works in search, and is from California, but currently lives in New York City. And in college, she majored in computer science, but got her master's with the Music Tech Lab. And just for a couple fun facts about her, she loves Gossip Girls like I do. She did magic, like she said, for the first time when she was in seventh grade and is currently picking up the piano again. Next slide, please. So for my project, I decided to make a VR music game, which is a virtual reality game that allows you to improve your playing while in a three-dimensional interactive world with a coach that analyzes your current progress and gives you immediate specific feedback. And for what it is, it's a website on GitHub that we use HTML to make, and also A-Frame, which is what we use to make the three-dimensional virtual reality world, which is only one of many VR frameworks. And we also use a JavaScript file for this music element that I'll speak about in a little bit too. And for why I selected this project, I was really interested in learning more about VR music and VR games and worlds after Smriti showed me a couple of her projects from her own college projects. And going into the program, I didn't have really any experience in working with coding, so I wanted to learn more about computer science. And I'm also passionate about music and learning new instruments, and so I was interested in finding solutions for more fun and efficient practicing. Next slide, please. Um, Even though we were only given 4 to 5 months to work on this project, we learned a lot of technologies. I learned how to use HTML, which we use for the website, and CSS, which is what you kind of use to format it, as well as A-Frame for the virtual reality world, JavaScript for the music part, and GitHub, which is kind of the thing that brings it all together. And for how far we got, I was able to learn basic framework for how to make a website, for how to build objects and scenes in VR, and also for how to make functions using JavaScript. And so far, we've only developed really level 1 to this game, which corrects the player's intonation. But in the future, I'd hope to work on making more levels and scenes that help with rhythm, dynamics, overall performance, and also improving VR interactions. As right now in the game, most of our functions are triggered when you press the key on your keyboard, but would hope in the future that it would be when you interact with an object in the world. Next slide, please. Just because I think it's cool to see how much everyone's accomplished in so little time, I made a little timeline of all the work we've done together. So you can see that in the beginning, we spent a good month just planning what we wanted to do, and then jumped right straight in using Code Academy to learn HTML, CSS, and just to get familiar with those two technologies, making my first Gossip Girl themed website on GitHub. And then just around our midpoint, learning about A-Frame, building our level 1 VR scene, which I'll show you in a second, and then learning JavaScript finally, and writing our actual code and putting it all together. Next slide, please. So I just included a couple pictures of, you can see my Gossip Girl fanfic website there, and sort of the HTML code right here, and also a sample Code Academy lesson for A-frame, as well as a small project I did in kind of all the nitty-gritty positioning on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. And also, just because JavaScript is such a huge element to our project, I included a couple lessons from there too. We were able to cover conditionals, functions, arrays, and loops, and in our final program, we were able to use all of those lessons, so that was super exciting. Next slide, please. So here's a small portion of our actual JavaScript file, and you can see in the top we made our function, which we called compare notes, that essentially takes two different arrays or two different lists of notes. One is called the golden recording, which is what the student ultimately wants to play and sound like, and the other is the student's current progress and what they submit to the website. And so in this for loop right here, it checks to see if there are any mistakes or differences in those two lists, and wherever there are, it stores that information and at the very, very end consolidates it and tells you where you made the mistake, what the mistake was, and how you can improve at the very end in the VR world. Next slide, please. So I had a phenomenal magic experience. Thinking this game was awesome. And I really appreciated getting to be exposed to such a wide variety of technologies and programming languages, even in such a small time period, and ultimately getting to incorporate almost all of them into my final program. And I also loved getting to combine my interests in computer science and getting to learn more about that realm with my passion for music. And for lessons learned, whether it's in a coding heavy setting or just in regular life, I've learned always leave comments so that when you come back to your work, it's always easier when you need to see what you've done. And then before jumping into any fancy syntax or wording, always thinking about how you would solve the solution just as a human, and then putting that step by step, and then later translating it into whatever format your project needs to be. And for challenges, for A-frame specifically, which is what we use to make our VR worlds, it's a fairly unpopular and new tool. So sometimes when we were troubleshooting the debugging or an object wouldn't load, it was sometimes hard to research what was wrong, but working with Smriti, we were always able to figure it out. Next slide, please. So if the sound works, hopefully here's a little demo of how the game works.
Demo on how the game works, as well as a little preview into the code running behind the scenes. So when you first open up our website, you're taken to this 3D VR interactive world. You can move around it. You can see we added different text, different objects, and different animations. And sort of the purpose of this game was to make practicing more fun. And so we did this by writing a JavaScript code that compares a student's current progress on a piece to a recording, what we called the golden recording, of what they ultimately want to sound like. And while they're correcting and perfecting their pitch, their rhythm, their dynamics, and overall performance, they are also changing their worlds, their backgrounds that they're in. And so you start off busking next to the 66th Street train station just outside of Lincoln Center, and ultimately get to perform in a concert hall inside. But just because of time, we were only really able to work on level 1, which will compare and help you perfect your pitch and the number of notes you play. So here, every single one of these characters represents a different type of student. The hot dog plays the perfect number of notes, traffic cone plays incorrect notes, and the fire hydrant plays an incorrect number of notes. And here the guitar represents the golden recording. So when you hit 0, you played the golden recording, which is to the tune Bohemian Rhapsody, which is what they want to sound like. And when you hit 2,
Well, I don't know if this sounds working right now, but when you open up the console, you can actually see the index that's happening behind the scenes. And you can see the code going note by note, position by position, and it's checking to see if there are any differences in the two lists. And you can see in position 3, it was expected they were supposed to play C sharp, but they played a C instead. And what it does is it stores that mistake, and at the very, very end, consolidates all of them into text that will show up in the VR world. And I think I said in the video, it'll also do the same thing for the quote unquote perfect student and the one who plays incorrect number of notes, but just because of time, didn't have enough time. Next slide, please. And so thank you. I had a lot of fun working on this project, and I hope you can play it too. Thank you.
That was so fun. Great job. Great job,
you.
Zoe. What questions do we have virtually for Zoe?
It's a brain here. I have a question for you, Zoe. And before that, congratulations on this very interesting project. It seems like you tried a bunch of new things. So all those characters that you show in your video, are they, did you design them or did you find them in a place that you can pick this kind of resources?
There's actually a Google website that you can find 3D models on. For A-frame, they call them GLTF models, but you can just find a whole bunch of different characters, and I was able to upload those into my worlds.
That's cool. Thank you.
Hi, Zoe, this is Ira. Huge congratulations. I mean, I have not seen a VR project in Magic, and we've been around for more than 16 years. This is amazing. I had a question. So you had one standard piece of music. Are you going to build a database of, perfect, pieces that people can practice against? And then have you shared this with other people, with your peers?
I think I've shared it with a couple of my friends, but mostly this is the first time I've officially shared it with people. For the music part, we were actually able to find an online keyboard that you can set to different instrument sounds. And so I was able to take those recordings of that just because we weren't able to yet figure out how to make live recordings and have the code still run. So yeah, online piano for now, but I'd in the future hope to make it that it would be live.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.